By the time the flames reached the old maple tree, I knew the farm was gone. I stood in the freezing night air in nothing but my flannel nightshirt and work boots, watching 50 years of my life turn into a blistering orange roar. The barn collapsed first, sending up a shower of sparks that floated over the fields like fireflies gone rabid. Then the house windows burst one after another with sharp pops that sounded too much like bones breaking. They said later it was the wiring in the milking shed, some quiet fault that had waited decades to betray me. I don't remember the sirens or which neighbor called the fire department. I just remember the heat on my face and the bitter taste of wet ash on my tongue when the first wave of cold water hit the siding. When the last hose shut off, what had been the Warren family farm was a smoking skeleton. My father's tractor, the kitchen table my husband built from reclaimed oak, the quilt my mother sewed the winter before she died gone. The insurance man came out at dawn, his breath clouding in the March air, his clipboard pressed to his chest like a shield. "Mrs. Warren," he said, eyes already sliding away, "I'm afraid your current policy doesn't cover this level of damage. When you downgraded last year, because I couldn't afford your premiums," I snapped. Though my voice was more broken than sharp, he cleared his throat. "The payout will barely cover cleanup. I'm sorry. Sorry." As if that word could put a roof over a 64-year-old woman's head. I had two options, or so I told myself while the sun rose over the charred fields: government shelters or family. I chose family. My younger brother, Mike, lived 40 minutes away in a new development with matching mailboxes and 3-car garages. He'd moved to town years ago, trading dirt under his nails for an office chair, promising he'd still be there if I ever needed him. I showed up at his front door with soot in my hair, a duffel bag of smoke-stinking clothes, and the brittle hope that blood meant something. His wife opened the door, took one look at me, and flinched like I was contagious. "Mike," she hissed over her shoulder, "your sister's here again." She looks like a beggar off the highway these days. For a second, I honestly thought I had misheard her. That grief smoke and exhaustion were twisting reality around me. But then Mike appeared in the hallway, wiping his hands on a dish towel, and my hope collapsed right there. He did not hug me, did not even reach for my bag, just stared like I was a stranger here. "You should have called first," he said, glancing past me at the street as if hoping someone was watching us. I told him the phone had died sometime between the fire trucks leaving and the insurance man folding his clipboard. His wife folded her arms, her bracelet catching the light, creating tiny rainbows that felt cruelly out of place that morning. "We have the kids settled, routines going," she said, like my burnt home was merely an inconvenience on her calendar. Mike cleared his throat, that little tick he uses before saying something cowardly, and suggested the church shelter in town. "They help people like you," he added, his eyes skittering away from mine as if poverty was a contagious condition now. "People like me," I repeated, tasting the words the way you taste metal before a storm splits the sky open. In the end, he pressed a crumpled 20 into my palm, like tipping a busker, and closed the door gently. The word beggar drifted through the wood like smoke. By nightfall, I was in the city, standing outside the shelter he mentioned, watching the line curl around the block. Rain soaked through my barred coat, each drop a tiny reminder of everything I had ever chosen over money before. A woman at the door told us there were no beds left, just mats on the floor if children came. I backed away, my knees trembling, the smell of bleach and despair following me down the sidewalk like a shadow itself. I ended up at an all-night diner, trading my last dollars for coffee that tasted burned but blessedly hot. When I dug through my soot-stained purse for change, my fingers brushed against something stiff that did not belong. I pulled out a business card, edges softened by years. My name was written on the back in hurried teenage handwriting. "Call me if you ever need anything," he had said, the day he left my farm to chase impossible dreams. On the front, it said, in glossy silver letters, Elias Cole, founder and CEO, Cole Ventures. Below that, a number I had never dialed. The last time I'd seen Elias, he'd been 17, all elbows and sharp cheekbones, standing by my mailbox with a backpack that had more patches than fabric. He had worked my fields for 3 summers, paid in cash and secondhand textbooks, talking about computers like other boys talked about trucks. When a scholarship came through, he'd shoved this card into my hand, his ears red. In case you ever need anything, Miss Warren, I mean it. I had kept the card out of sentiment. Needing had always been something other people did. Sitting in that diner with my life in ashes and my own brother calling me a beggar, I turned the card over 3 times before flipping open my old flip phone. My thumb hovered over the buttons like the phone might bite. The call barely rang once. Lavra? The voice on the other end was deeper, steadier, wrapped in surprise. Lara Warren? Is that really you? Elias, I managed. My own voice sounded thin in my ears. I'm sorry to call. I wouldn't accept the farm, it burned, and I don't have... Where are you? He cut in. All business now. Not cold, just focused. Tell me the street. I read the name off a greasy napkin holder. There was a brief silence, fingers tapping keys somewhere far above my pay grade. Stay put, he said. Order pie. My driver will be there in 10 minutes. And Lavra? You don't ever apologize to me for calling. 9 minutes later, a black sedan slid to the curb outside the window, sleek and impossible among the dented pickups. The waitress glanced at me, then the car, then back, her eyebrows inching up. I just shrugged, finished the last lukewarm sip of coffee, and walked out into the rain. Inside, the car smelled of leather and expensive cologne. An hour later, I was wrapped in a borrowed sweater in a glass-walled apartment 50 floors above the city, telling my story while Elias listened without once checking his phone. By morning, his lawyers had traced the cut-rate wiring to a company owned by my brother, and the helpful policy downgrade to his wife's commission check. They called me a beggar. He called it fraud, and he made it right. This story is a powerful reminder that kindness is an investment, and true family isn't always about blood. It's about who shows up when the fire is out and the ashes are cold. Thank you for listening. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more.